Hi everyone, Snake here from the game Empires and Puzzles, and I'm here with a brand new video series that's going to help you with your war defense. Stay tuned, you're not going to want to miss this. Welcome everyone to my video, and I thank you so much for stopping in, especially when there's so many other people putting out some great videos like UCLA Pack, Anchor, Lion Roar Gamer, Mr. Spock. That's just to name a few. The list goes on and on. Um, but as much as I also enjoy those videos, the reason I'm here on your screen is because I've got something a little bit different, something that is not readily available online, either because it doesn't exist or people aren't sharing it. So I'm going to start by framing the problem that everybody goes through, and that's war defense. You know, there's a lot of videos out there about how to work your offense and how to do it properly, or little opinions or thoughts or ideas on how to improve that. But for war defense, you know, people end up going with their gut, or just slapping together a few heroes that are their best ones out of their lineup, and it doesn't always work out. How many wars have you lost by 50 points, 100 points? That could have easily been won had you fended off one more flag from the opponents, a couple more flags. I'm going to help you with that. I'm going to show you why certain formations are better than others. I'm going to show you which ones they are, and we're going to explore this together. In this first video of my series, I'm going to go through the methodology of what I followed to make this war study work. It may help you understand where my numbers are coming from. It may help you know where to start if you want to build your own. And then I'm going to get into some stats, some general stats that are a combination of all war types put into one. It's the overall. These numbers are going to be quite interesting to some people. For one, it could just give confirmation to what they think they already know. For other people, it may give a little insight on what's going wrong. But when we get into the specific videos afterwards for the different war types, those are the ones you're going to want to catch to finely tune your war defense teams for those war types. So let's be clear before we get started that all the numbers that I've got, these are not what Snake thinks. Okay, these are not boosted up for any reason. I don't have a horse in this race other than to find the truth of what really works best. I will offer my opinion of why certain formations are better than others, but everything is exactly how it happened. In reality, not on paper, it's exactly what happened over this period of time that I did the war study. So, back to that war study. It was a big project. It was a huge undertaking. I did it for an entire year of capturing all the data from every war over that time period. When I first started this, I even had field aid on my list. This is how far back I'm gone. It was a long, long time. But I needed to do it because just doing a couple of wars, making a few notes here and there is not going to cut it. There's highs, there's lows. Somewhere we need to find that average, and that's only by getting a large sample of data. So that's why I did this. And it was very interesting how the trends emerged, and I thought it would be over, you know, each war would be the same, but it's not. Those different rules really impact how a good team is formed, and we'll get into those later on. But this war study, we're talking some pretty big numbers. It was a good sample size. For instance, there was over 5,800 individual war teams that I had observed and recorded and assessed. There's over 35,000 attacks that I recorded to go into this data so that I could get some numbers. It was about ballpark around 600 hours of time that I put into this, between the data entry, the recording, the screenshots, the analysis. It was a big project, a lot of long nights. It was long. I'm glad it's over, but I do think I might continue this because I did all the war types. But something new has emerged. There's the Three Kingdom War that just came out. We just finished the beta, and it's using regular raid rules. It's not using the other rules. So I find this intriguing, and I think that certainly there's a lot of data I can get from each war. I mean, 200 teams, that's a lot. It'll take a long time, but I may come up with something later on. But for now, we're going to focus on the 5 wars, and in this one, just the overall picture. So make sure you come back for those other videos. While I'm at it, subscribe. Don't forget to hit that notification button and like my videos. That way you can find out as soon as my next videos come out, and you can be at the leading edge for that next war that's coming out. How did I do it? Well, at the start, I just simply started following our own alliance. This was about 3 or 4 wars in, and then I realized we're fighting an opponent. I want to get their data too. So I started recording theirs and ours. And so then I did this for a full year. Because the first ones were just partials, I've got 99 full wars of data that is been put into this war study. Like I said, 35,000 attacks, almost 6,000 individual war teams. And I'm going to go into how I did all the recording so you understand what's there. So at the start of each war, easy, I record every player's name, what team they're fielding, and where the heroes are in each position. After that, I then go through the entire log for that war, and I record each hit that someone did on somebody. Once that's done and I have all that, then I figure out what the survivability rate was for that team. Then I make links to each factor that I want to examine. In this case, I really focused on what I thought was the biggest question mark of all war defense, is the healers. How many healers and where are they? And also, does it matter what type of healer it is? Just to be clear, when I talk healers, I'm talking about a hero that can replenish or boost the HP on multiple people. This is not Leo, not heroes that can only heal themselves. I don't want to take up much more time. Let's just get into what you came for. All right, now this time we're going to dig into the stats. Again, these are going to be stats that are just encompassing all war types, so it's the average of all of them. So don't go using these ones for each specific war type. You'll have to check out my other videos that are specific to each war type for that. Otherwise, you may not optimize your team at all. This is more for general knowledge, and also so that you've got an idea of what I'm going to provide you in the other videos. So the first thing I'm going to give you is the baseline for the average survivability rate. We could see there's almost 6,000 teams, defense teams that I've assessed and observed. So the average for all of them is combined is 29.7%, just about 30%. So it's a good marker to know if a formation is good or bad. But just be aware, like I said, there's differences between different war types. So one war type is up by 34%, and others are down to 27. So there is quite a range of difficulty for the attackers, if you will, in each one. So here's what we're going to break down first. So no healers, 1 healer, 2, 3, 4, and 5. As you can see right now from the numbers in brackets are how many teams, defense teams I've seen in this with that makeup. Obviously 4 and 5 healers, there's not very many that use that, but there has been a few. 1 healer and 2 healer are most popular. So let's start with no healers. It is right almost at average. It is just below it. In a certain war type, it's actually better than the others when you look at them as a whole. But it's not a bad go. 1 healer is actually a little bit worse. 2 healers. So as you can see, I put that in green. If you see yellow numbers, it means it's within 1% of the average. Green is obviously going to be higher than 1%, and red will be on the low end of the spectrum. So 38.9% for 2 healers. 3 healers, no shock. We're starting to dive down a little bit. 4 healers, even lower. And as you can imagine, 5 healers is going to be worse off. Now, it's important to know, and I said it's no shock, there is actually a war type where more healers is better. I'm not saying all the way to 5. But it is beneficial to have more, and 3 is not as bad as you think it is in one war type. You're going to see what I'm talking about later on in another video. But when we go to the 1 healer, we're going to split this off a little bit, just because it has a there's so many different types of 1 healer. You can have 1 healer at tank, at flank, on the wing. So we're gonna break that down because there is a big difference between that. So here's our baselines. The average survivability rate just under 30%, and so is 1 healer overall. So here's where we are at the 1 healer at tank, at flank, and at wing. So as we see at tank, we actually go green here. It's 31.5%, which is higher than the 1 healer overall. So it's good that we're kind of getting a little more granular and breaking down this category. 1 healer at flank is, so it's only off by 0.2 of being yellow for us, but it is a little bit more in the red. And 1 healer on wing is actually the worst that we've seen so far here. So I know what you're thinking. What about resing heroes? I put 1 on there and I'm always getting good scores. Fair enough. Let's break down that wing just a little bit more because there's more to it than this 28.0%. So let's break it down by 1 healer on the wing when the healer can revive and cannot revive. So when it can revive, it's 31.2. It's actually above average. And when it cannot, it's 26.0%. That's a big difference. We're talking over 5% difference on these. And this is, again, on average, this putting a reviver on the wing works better in some war types than others. in one war type, it's actually not better than putting it at tank. But when we look at this, it's 562 people have tried putting a healer on a wing that can't revive when you're using a single healer. 26.0%. It's much less than the average, and it's kind of silly. And I know why this doesn't work. And you can put in the comments if you like, if you don't agree. But healers are generally slow. So by the time they're ready to fire, you've already wiped out the tank and the flanks. And then even if they do get off their heal, who are they healing? They're healing themselves while there's a big gaping hole up the middle, and you can just ghost tiles through it, charge up, and it's game over for that healer. Pretty sure this is why this doesn't work well. But if it can revive, then it's not just healing itself, it's actually bringing people back. And that's why you're getting that extra 5.2% when you have a healer that can revive on the wing. All right, so we're going to move on. We're going to go to the two healers. We're going to break that one down now, like we just did to the one healer, because you can have two healers in many different places. So here are your two healers formations. You got wing flank, wing tank, wing wing, flank flank, flank tank. Decent spread between them all. Shocking that only 100 cases where it's wing wing. I think that's climbing up a lot lately, and it's probably going to after this video as well. But I'm just going to pop up all the numbers here. So two healers overall was a pretty good score, above the average. And when we look at the other ones below, we got a lot of yellows and so forth. One red, but that's only because of the 28. The 28.3% is just under that 1% threshold to be yellow, but they're all fairly close, except for the one, right? And that's the wing wing, where there's only 100 times it was used. And I say only 100, but that certainly gives us a solid ballpark area of where that falls. So that one there is the anomaly, and I think we need to look into that one just a little bit more. All right, so we're going to look at the two healers wing wing, dive down a little bit more, see what makes it tick, and are all wing wing combinations good? So 38.6%, much higher than the 29.7. We're going to break this down into having no revivers on the wings, one reviver on the wing, and a non-reviving hero, and where both healers on the wings are revivers. So with no revivers, two healers on the wings, it's actually not bad. It's 29.1%. And I suppose why it's better than when you have only one healer on the wing, which was garbage. You actually can't blow off one side and then ghost it all. You're going to run into one of the healers before you get to take her out, or him. So it's not bad. It's still below average, and there's many better formations than that one. So with one reviver, and the other wing would be a hero that doesn't revive, it's 33.9%, which is quite a bit more than the average survivability rate. It's a winning combination, but it gets better when you stick two of them. How many times have you come across Alberic and Mother North on the wings? By the time you get to one, the other one's going off, and you got all kinds of revives in the middle, and it's frustrating. And this is what it's showing you here. 52.5%. That is by far the highest rated formation of any makeup, any kind, with when I'm looking at healers that you can have. It gets a gold star. It is above and beyond way better than everything. But will it stay at the top? Hard to say, because Crave Crush. Crave Crush is coming. Was supposed to be released in January of 2022. Been pushed off to February. Now, Crave Crush has a special ability that can block revivers from reviving, or block heroes from getting revived. This could change that number. That 52.5 may go down once the market gets flooded with enough Crave Crushes. But will it be enough to change it significantly? I don't think so. I could be wrong. Time will tell. But at this point, it's going to take a lot of Crave Crushes to change this number, because one, everybody's got to get one, and that's not happening. Two, everyone's going to have to get 6 of them to compete with all the 6 teams that you're fighting with in war for all your flags. That's not happening. And it also has to go off at the right time, and you have to be successful in doing that. So with all these things, that number for both revivers, yes, it could go down. I don't think it'll go down significantly. I still think it's a winner, but Crave Crush could potentially impact teams that are putting up revivers on them. So keep that in mind. So in this little part of the stats, I want to show you something, and you probably weren't expecting this, so because the rest of it's about healers, but this I found very interesting. So in our alliance, we have been doing this for years, and that's picking a tank color like everybody else does. But then we've allowed a little bit more flexibility, where you can put both tanks at the same color as the tank. So if the tank color is dark, you either put a dark tank, or you put 2 flanks that are dark, and you can put anything else that you want in the center. Same thing, green tank, put green flanks, and you can put a red or a blue tank. And people liked it. People like this because it not only does it help draw out a little bit more of the color that you're trying to draw out of the other team, but it allowed that flexibility, and we managed to keep some people happy that wanted to try something new, or had a tank of a different color that they wanted to use, or maybe even, you know what, at the start of this year-long study, there was people that didn't really have a tanking hero of that color. So I just want to show you this, and it's probably going to be what you expected up to a point. So out of and again, like this is only assessed for our alliance, because other alliances don't do this. We've not come across one in war that does. So these numbers are half of what you'd expect. But flanks of color, and it's always optional. 15% of people do that. That equates to about 4.5 people per war will use flanks of color over tanks of color. 30.6% for tank of color if you run that. And when you run flanks of color, 26.3%. That's a big difference. And I know what you're saying. Why would you even bother with it? Because there's a little more than meets the eye on this one. So I started noticing a lot that in certain cases, flanks of color was better. In fact, in one war type, flanks of color is better than using a tank of color. And when I started digging into it a little bit more, I found out why. So this was it was for Rush Wars. Rush Wars, the flanks of color were outpacing the tanks of color. And I looked into it more, why it's happening only with the one war type. And from way back when we were deciding our color for for what we would use in war for the tank, we went with dark tanks way back. Even though we were using blues and greens, I mean, people didn't start really using darks until late summer of 2021 is when everybody started using darks. But before that, it was blues and greens. But we used dark for rush. And there's a special relationship between holy and dark tanks. Holy tank, dark flanks, or dark flanks, holy tank. Because if you're stacking up against that tank, you're weak on the flanks. There's no averages. So when, as opposed to when you've got 3 colors up front, you're going to hit an average, you're going to hit a strong, and you're going to hit a weak, possibly. In this case, you're either going to be weak against the tank when you stack up, or you're going to be weak against the flanks, and both could be a recipe for disaster. So we're going to split this up a little bit. The flanks of color, remember, 26.3%. We're going to break it up into flanks and tank, where their holy and dark relationship exists, and flanks and tank that are not a holy dark type of relationship. 34.2%. 34.2%. So that is incredible. That's better than having just running with a tank of color and then having 2 other colors on the sides. And that's what everybody does. So this could change the way that people do war. I mean, we're halfway there. Everybody's using dark anyways. As soon as you start putting 2 holies on the flanks, it's game over. It increases the difficulty a lot, and the proof's in the numbers. When you don't use, if you're using 2 flanks of color, but it doesn't match up with the tank doesn't match up with the holy dark relationship, 25.0%. So if you're gonna do it, you got to do it with dark and holy. And if you do, it's gold. If you don't, you're hurting yourself. Don't stick 2 darks on the tank, on the flank, with a green tank, or a blue one, or a red one. It's not going to work well. Same thing with yellow. And just so you know, this is yellow and this is dark and holy for that 34.2%. It is not. It doesn't matter which way that you put that. This color combination can be used everywhere, not just in wars. It can be used in all facets of empires and puzzles. I threw together a quick clip of a tournament that was going on at the time of making this video. So here it is. So, like I was saying, the dark and holy relationship between tank and flanks, it's really effective in all kinds of cases. So it'll help you in raids, it'll help you in every kind of war and tournaments, and I'm going to show you the effectiveness of it. So for the current tournament going on, it's a 3-star buff booster with 3 it's 3-star, but it's they've removed the fire element. So naturally, the best thing to do in this case is to put a green tank. That's what most people do. But if you look at my tournament defense team, I went with the holy tank and dark flanks. You'd think this would be substandard, but it's not. And I've, in the eyes of most people, I've probably disadvantaged myself because people can use black and dark heroes and stack up against me. But let me show you in my defense. Right? I got a grade A right now, 72.4, and I didn't even pick green as my tank. So it can work with any type of scenario, any at all, and it's that effective that even when that's not the obvious way to go, that it's a shoo-in every time. So, overall summary. Here's our average baseline. I'm going to give you the top 3 formations that we've seen as it pertains to healers. And because we've broken down a lot of different pages here. So single healer at tank is better, 31.5. 2 healers on the wings, where one of them can revive, will increase your odds here, 33.9%, almost 40%, or 34%. And of course, the big one that we talked about, 2 reviving healers on the wings, 52.5%, which is incredible. On the bottom side, this is what you want to stay away from. Single healer on the wing that can't revive, 26.0%. 4 healers and 5 healers. It just keeps tumbling. And that's a pretty bad floor. 4 and 5 healers, the reason this doesn't work for any beginners or anyone that hasn't really thought about it is, yeah, you can stay up for a long time, but in the end, there's way too much time in a war battle that they're going to chip away at you eventually. And if you have nothing to fight back with, you're not going to take them out. They'll get you eventually. And lastly, okay, always consider that Dark Holy tank flank relationship. If you were to take that top formation, the 2 reviving healers on the wings, so you got your wings, and reviving healers are green, so you put them on the wings, and then you put 2 dark flanks with a holy tank, or vice versa. Who knows? You may be up towards 60% average. Anyways, these are the best formations. And I'm going to remind you one last time, this is average over all wars. There are many differences between them because the rules are different in each war type. We're going to examine those in the next videos. All right, so that's it for the stats for the overall war type, broken down by different formations. But I have one more thing to show you very quickly, is I didn't only focus on which formations are the best with different amounts of healers and so forth. I also took a keen interest in which heroes work better in which position. I spent a lot of time dissecting this and seeing which one is most effective in which position and trying to figure out why that is. That'll help as well with new heroes that come out to understand where their positioning should be. Again, all these numbers, these stats are strictly from the data. These are not what I think. So all of these heroes, it's exactly what happened. So I'm going to show you this. So here we go. And this is just mystery hero. And I did that for a reason. I want to see how keen you all are. I'm going to check the comments, see how many of you can actually guess who this hero is. In the graph on the top, the yellow bar represents the war type average, so the average for that war type. And then the blue bar, the dark blue bar is tank, the lighter blue bar next to it is flank, and that whiter one is for the wing. And we can see how it ranks against the average in each of these war types, in each of these positions. The table at the bottom, where you see tank, flank, and wing, those columns in brackets, is the average amount of times that a hero is used. So as we can see, this hero is actually used more than the average hero in every one of these positions, in every one of these war types, except for Arrow Barrage. It is just below the cusp. It's been used 9 times, and 10 is the average. I've rounded these numbers, by the way. The next we look at the percentage. So the percentage, and I've highlighted those in green for anything that's above 1%, close to the average. and red of course is below, and yellow is within that 1%. We can see that this hero is pretty strong as a tank, except for an Undead Horde. As a flank, it does okay. It's mostly average, except in rush. And if you've got a keen eye, you've noticed that rush numbers are way up. So right away, you probably know this hero's more on the slow side of the mana scale. And then as a wing, in all war types, it is average in one and strong in all the others. So what I'll do, I'll leave this with you right now, how it is. See if you can guess who this mystery hero is. Throw it into the comments if you do know it. And if you wait for my first video when I start doing these, as soon as I'm done with the different war types, I'm going to start doing individual heroes. This will be the first one I put out, so you're not left hanging too long for what the answer is. Alright, that's it. I'm all done for today. I've gone over the methodology of how I did the war study. I've shown you the overall stats for all war types, for different formations, especially as it comes to healers. And of course, a quick snapshot of what's to come with individual heroes. Remember, you can increase your survivability rate a little bit by just changing up your formation. And then once you start seeing these heroes roll out in the stats for them, you can start swapping out some of those older heroes that people sometimes get attached to and don't realize that maybe they're not quite effective enough. Again, thanks for coming. I hope to see you next time for my next videos. And if you can appreciate what I've done here, all the work, and that this is something that you'd enjoy, please hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notifications so that you can be alerted to next time I put out a video. Thanks again. I'm Snake, and I'm here to help you defend yourself.